This is Off the Break Podcast, presented by Silver Screen Insider.
Welcome to the Off the Break Podcast, your podcast dedicated to current movie theater news, operations, and insights from the people that book the movies. We are almost specifically doing Sony release date changes now and forever. I'm Ken, and with me is Cody and Kyle.
It's just true, though.
Just a weird segue into a topic and then
That's
back to
right.
who we are.
Yeah. We're trying to have fun here.
Okay, sorry.
Trying to
Fine.
switch things up.
Let's get to it. Venom moved, and Halloween is day and date
Yeah.
on the Peacock.
Okay, guys. Enough.
Straightforward talking.
Yeah.
Also,
We're professional. But Venom did move.
As you
again.
flip shit at me. I mean, we're professional. That's how you do an intro?
Yeah.
Well, this is a sign that I'm doing it next week.
Yeah.
Kyle's like, Mom and Dad are fighting.
You think I'd be used to it?
You think so? It always just hits that
Comes out of nowhere.
little inner child in you, Kyle.
Oh, Kyle. I don't think of you as a child
That'd be a first.
all the time. At least I wouldn't say it on the podcast.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Behind my
I
back.
respect you more than that.
Thank you.
Only say it behind your back.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's the better parent now? Okay. So yeah, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, moved yet again from October 15th, middle of the month, great time, to October 1st, which is surprisingly 1 week away from its original release date, or one of its release dates on 9/24.
I think it was 9/24, right?
Yeah.
It was 9/24 3 weeks or less ago.
Yeah.
And then it went to 10/15, and then Monday on Labor Day.
On Labor Day, when nobody was in the office, nobody was
No
in.
one was paying attention.
It moved up 2 weeks.
So a couple of reasons why this move happened. Shang-Chi did so well over the weekend that there was no hesitation about movie going. So you could be earlier in the year. There was when they initially moved it, I think out of September, there had been a lot of talk 3 or 4 weeks prior to their release date about vaccine requirements and how that was going to hurt movie going. And then what we've seen is those requirements haven't really materialized in many markets, and it's not hurting movie going because there's been exceptions for kids under 12.
Right.
Although Venom's technically PG-13, you don't have to worry about that. But anyways, the requirements aren't materializing, and movie going is still really strong. So the awesome Shang-Chi, box office, which we'll get into,
Woohoo!
really helped with getting Venom moved up. The other issue is that Bond on 10/8 was requiring 2 weeks clean PLFs and IMAX screens. So they're taking up the IMAX screens for 2 full weeks. And so Venom coming in, and Halloween Kills is going to have the same issue, but Venom recognized it pretty early, and they're saying, hey, we can't not have IMAX right now or PLFs. It's accounting for quite a bit of the box office. Like,
If people are going out, they're getting the best experience they can.
It's the event-like nature of movie going now, where Fridays and Saturdays are the biggest days and opening weeks are still really lucrative, lends itself more to that experience with the big screen. So you're spending a little bit more for the IMAX, you're getting the upcharge, and so they really want to make sure they have that, especially on something like Venom. Venom will do very well in IMAXs and PLF. So their thought was that they'll get in front of Bond and at least have 1 week in the PLFs and the IMAXs. Now, if they would have just kept their 9/24 date from the very beginning, they would have had not only 2 weeks clean and a run great into Bond, but then we wouldn't have had to mess up my schedule and had to redo all my booking sheets multiple weeks in a row.
What? It's personal?
Well,
It's super personal, Sony. I'm looking at you.
You did it once when it was at 9/24, and then erased it to put it at 10/15, and then erased it to put it at 10/1.
By the way, and looking at the past changes too, it was at 9/17 for a while too, before movie to 9/24.
And then it was in
Oh, yeah.
2020, wasn't it? Did it have a release date already?
In 2020, yeah, a whole bunch. I didn't look that far, but you can bet your dollar that it's there.
You could call it a Sony dozen. That's what we'll call it from now on.
Sony's dozen.
A Sony's dozen, which is somewhere between 7 and 25.
Yeah, release schedule changes all like within weeks. Like, it's so silly. If they would have just kept their one date, they would have, I think, been better off. I think Venom deserves 2 weeks on PLFs and IMAXs.
Oh, sure.
You could easily afford that, and then this third week of its run, it hits into Bond, where it's a little bit weaker. Now it's only getting 1 good week into Bond, where Bond's going to hurt it on its second week, and really, like, we should be having a 2-week window into it. Like, I really wish they would have just kept their 9/24 date,
or even the 9/17. I guess would have worked out well. I mean, depends on how Shang-Chi performs over the next few weeks, but even still, if it ends up not having as much carryover for the next 2 weeks as we're thinking it might, it probably would have been fine just to have Venom be having almost 3 weeks to itself before Bond.
It's so much second guessing markets and
reactionary,
everything.
second
so
guessing.
Reactionary, yeah.
And it just drives theaters nuts.
Well, they took a sequel of a $300-400 million film and are treating it like Here Today when they dated that. And like, we're starting Friday. What was that detective movie?
Oh, The Kid Detective?
We didn't get a trailer for it until Tuesday when it was opening Friday.
Yeah. Right.
They took dates with no trailer, no publicity stills, nothing. There was only, not even a synopsis, really.
It was the notes of who's in the movie.
Yeah.
We didn't have a runtime until Wednesday or Thursday. It was crazy.
And they were like, why are we not getting dates? I'm like, I don't know if this movie really exists or not.
And even as we're playing it, I still don't know.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm giving you a throwaway screen just in case this doesn't materialize.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have our complaints about them moving stuff around, but is October 1st still doable? Is it still okay?
I mean, they are taking over their old Hotel Transylvania date before they sold that.
Yeah.
So don't forget that I had to delete all of those in there after agonizing how it was going to fit it all on the schedule.
If it has to open between 9/24 and 10/15, this is the second best option.
Second best option. Because I really did want to play it on IMAXs and PLFs.
Oh,
like, it'll be a good jolt. I was not super excited to have Bond on the screen 2 weeks. You know, I want Bond to be on screen if grosses warrant it for that. But I hate being mandated that we have to hold stuff clean in certain auditoriums 2 weeks. Like, really, United Artists, after this, what do you got? I mean, I'm putting up with you right now over Adam's Family, and which you're going day and date on. And so I'm putting up with you on that, and I'm putting up with all your gimmicks around Bond, because after Bond, I don't think you have anything. And you're going to be relegated back to the, what have you done for me lately?
Back to the darkness.
Yeah.
See you next year, possibly.
Back to living with STX and...
Hey, well, they do have House of Gucci. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, because I really, really want that at Thanksgiving.
It's a wide...
I mean, Thanksgiving might not be the best time for it, but people like Lady Gaga. People like Adam Driver.
I love Lady
know.
Gaga.
Yeah.
Adam Driver's a little weird and hard to look at, but...
Not for some people.
Yeah, everything.
Kyle, I'm glad you can share that here.
Butterface.
If anywhere.
It's the one safe space that I have to do this.
I wish Adam would drive me home. So
what was the other change? Anything else dramatic happen?
And then Universal, I think, coming off a really bad review of their sequel to Halloween, decided to make Halloween Kills day and date with Peacock on. It's still keeping its release date, 10/15. I kind of was thinking, after Sony moved Venom, I was kind of surprised that Universal hasn't moved Halloween back. Like, I think they should move it back to the 22nd for a number of reasons. They'll get PLFs again on that date because we'll be off the Bond, and then IMAXs, and then the second week where it starts to drop off would be over Halloween weekend. So I would perform a very strong second week. And then the third week is a week we're not November 5th, which would be Eternals. So
it's counter programming to that. And...
Yeah, it could
so
be.
I just feel like if they moved back to the 22nd, it would it would perform for us so much stronger.
But we'll take it on the 15th.
But we're taking it on the 15th.
Don't get any ideas, Universal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm disappointed with the day and dating. The only other time Universal's done this is with Boss Baby. And it didn't appear to hurt us too hard. You know, there did have an effect on grosses, but Boss Baby ended up, you know, holding in there and playing all of July.
That's because no one I've ever met has Peacock.
Yeah.
I think some people still don't believe it's real.
Yeah.
Or even if they did, they don't. Yeah. I mean, they may not have even heard of it.
If you have it, the only redeemable reason that I can think of to have it moving forward is because they have Notre Dame football. That's the only thing that they have.
And that's for like you.
And that's for a very specific audience.
Very
Yeah.
confusing.
But they're not going to be watching Halloween Kills. It's the
Right.
same people. There's no crossover there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Venn diagram with two completely separate circles.
Yeah.
Is Peacock like what they're transforming CBS All Access into?
No,
Or
that's
is that
Paramount.
Paramount
That's
Plus.
Paramount Plus. Okay, see, this is what's so confusing.
What are you doing over here?
I was just trying to find
have
if
you
there was
been?
something redeemable about Peacock that I would want to watch on it, but there's not now.
I think there is like a free version of Peacock, but even still, like it clearly doesn't matter. No one talks about it, right?
Is it free?
There's Wheel of Fortune. There's
or-
The Office reruns from 2005. There's
That's that was like
Office, I guess.
yeah, that's the one thing where
Friends.
everyone was like, "Oh man, does this mean Netflix is gonna go downhill while Universal and Peacock becomes a thing?" And no,
So
they missed The Office, but they're still having Netflix.
let's be honest about Friends. Have you ever tried to rewatch a Friends episode?
Yeah.
It's so cringy to me. I can't. There's nothing about it that I like anymore.
Some of the humor doesn't age well. It's a times thing,
I can rewatch The Office like multiple times. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's
Friends, no, thank you.
I still like Friends.
I can't with Friends.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if day and date for Peacock, if it's going to hurt it at all. I think, honestly, reviews might hurt it more. Because if it's actually, like, getting the amount of bad reviews, if it's as money as it seems like it's going to be, it could be problematic.
Yeah. Well, and I have always wondered what the point of this movie was. You have a three-parter. We all know it's a three-parter.
Yeah.
This one obviously is just filler bridge content that unless she dies in it or some, I just don't know what the point of the movie would be. It's just killing a bunch of people to get to the end movie, which is the one you really want.
It's fun to see it again. I don't know. I mean, but what else could you do with this franchise? Like, people have tried before to, change it up so much, and clearly it doesn't work. So, do you stick with the same formula but just amp it up slightly and hope that people like it again? I don't know. It's
I like
a
the
tough
reboot,
recipe to work.
But just do a 2-parter reboot. You don't need to do a 3. No, but not everything has to be in 3s.
No,
Yes,
that's true.
People who see
sagas.
early films are critics, and they're expecting something amazing. And the first one wasn't great reviewed by critics coming out. The audiences really loved it, and I liked it, and I don't like horror movies.
Sure.
So we got to give this one the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
I mean, he chops up like 9 firefighters in the trailer. Like,
That's true.
it looks bitchin'.
It
Like,
did-
and then the people start
Do you
rioting.
think it's going to
and-
start on a high note and then just get really lull and then end on a...
I'm
we've got a mob, we've got
hopeful
a
that-
killer, and we've got her stuck in the hospital.
What's
gonna
the 3-name director? David Gordon Green?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yes.
Don't look at me.
But the first one was just incredible. Like I said, I don't like horror movies. But it really surprised me in a lot of ways. And this is going to do something special.
Yeah.
I think.
I think for me and looking at the bookings, I'm obviously not playing it everywhere. It is rated R. It is coming, at a time where we have a lot of really good PG-13 content. And I just have some locations that just don't do well with R, so we're not really looking for it. Although it is getting hurt a little bit, I'm not going to be able to give it the screen count that I wanted to because of the stipulations on the Bond screens. Like, I'm just going to have more Bond screens, and they're coming first, and so I'm not going to give it the screen count, unfortunately, that I think I could give it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for that perspective. But if you're just, a rando such as myself, if you're just trying to think of if it's successful or not, even despite like these early reactions, I would say just wait a bit, because it's possible that it could just be one particular group, especially since it premiered at like TIFF or Venice, whatever film festival just happened recently.
We should keep in mind that these reviews did come out of a film festival, and they were probably not wanting
some
a film
commercial
like this.
stuff works well coming out, but maybe this is a case where it just didn't work for that crowd. But let's just wait a bit and let's see more reviews come out before we really should start raising alarms or not.
Same thing's going to happen with Bond. As soon as somebody sees it, they're going to be the audience that wanted to see Bond.
Yeah.
Nobody at Venice was like, I really need to see Halloween Kills.
Right.
They want to see some lonely girl smoking cigarettes in a room by herself.
And then have it just fade to black at the end.
Finn.
No closure.
Both sound like great times to me, but okay.
Love independent art movies.
So I would just say take that with a grain of salt. Let's just wait and see before more reviews come out for this.
So with booking strategies, Venom did mess up the bookings a little bit moving forward, but everything shifted basically. So where I had some holes before, I think I kind of filled in with other things. So double screens of Venom will hold. I'll go into multiple screens of Bond and then try to get multiples of Halloween Kills where I can get. And that'll get us through most of October. Oh, and then there's Dune that gets multiples. So October is going to have at least one really good big opening a week. And then we're just trying to get there right now. And, you know, in the meantime, I think Cry Macho is going to be like an overlooked film that is going to perform really well for us. I mean, it's Clint Eastwood returning back to that kind of cowboy root situation that he has.
Sorry, real quick. When you say for us, do you mean for like your locations in particular?
Yeah.
Because you're more of the the Western.
Probably more Western rural areas.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll do better in smaller cities. It'll do better in the Midwest and the Mountain West than it will in. I think Clint Eastwood's probably still a draw in.
Just his name is still a draw in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And it's not a political movie. It doesn't have. It's not a Richard Jewell. It's not a Invictus with race relations. It's a cowboy movie with a little boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the subject matter isn't so much anything that could be directly tied to what's going on in the real world, but it's just more of what it seems to be a universal message that isn't going to rub people the wrong way or isn't going to cause any sort of divide. It's a universal message where people can be like, okay, Clint Eastwood, I see where you're coming from. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
And then we're opening Cop Shop next week with Gerard Butler. And that looks like a good action movie. I don't think it'll have long legs. And with all the content coming in, it's not going to. But
I had the best conversation before we get into Cop Shop. I had the best conversation with the theater today that was unaware of Cry Macho.
Oh, yeah. I heard this. We were in the car together during this.
Do tell. What happened?
Well, Cry Macho is kind of like a mouthful, right? And if you're trying to talk in the car over the speakerphone,
it can sound like a lot of different things.
Yeah. And then you're, go ahead, Ken. What did he think you were calling it?
Are we allowed to say it?
Yeah. It was something like try nacho. And then Ken went off on this spiel about like an animated nacho movie. And
then he's like,
he thought it was real.
Then I started to spell it out. And then he was like, it's Cry Nacho. So it's a sad plate of nachos.
Yeah.
And then I had to like, no, it's M as in Mary.
Yeah.
And it's like Cry Macho. And the title doesn't make, I mean, with the trailer, it makes sense, but it's just a weird title.
On its own, it doesn't quite.
It could easily have been called The Cowboy.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you could have taken, one of his previous movies, The Mule, and slapped it on there. Yeah. That could probably work.
Pick a noun. I mean, it could have been one of these weird ones where it's like The Tiger. And you would have been like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Sign me up.
But it was just really funny because Ken just went off on this tangent about a nacho movie, and the guy thought that that's what it was about. And I'm like, no, you're confusing him now, trying to be funny.
The plate of nachos is voiced by Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. You're like, wow, that seems very different from what he normally does.
This is a one-plate table, Pilgrim. They'd use John Wayne's voice from old films,
right,
to make him a plate of hot wings.
Yeah. But besides that, the big movie to play obviously is Shang-Chi. Like that blew away.
Oh,
our expectations. Ken had like the highest prediction, and even still, that blew it out of the water.
I know. I was so far off, and I was being
Same.
conservative.
Everybody was off.
Yeah.
I mean, all the numbers we saw were half or less of what it actually did. I mean, weird. When you play a Marvel movie, theatrical only, it does a big number, a historically big number.
It just
For that weekend. It's just historically big for Labor Day weekend.
Regardless of any other things. I mean, if you had have played that day and date, it could have been half that, and it would have. Nobody would have said, "Hey, this broke any sort of records." Like, it did a fine number, but because the theater was the only place to see it,
yeah.
it blew up.
And I can't imagine all that good publicity. You now have the highest record for Labor Day weekend. It went so far with exhibitors to show that theatrical exclusivity is good for the overall business.
It matters. Yeah.
And Disney hasn't announced what they're doing with their next two films.
Have they not said that Eternals is still going to be exclusive?
They have not. It's a picture by picture, and they've not announced what they're doing with anything.
Interesting. I mean, they're. If I had to think of why, it's probably because there's not a lot of people, but there are some people pointing out it's like, oh, it's one of Marvel's lowest grossing movies. And it's like, well, yeah, but take into consideration everything that's happened the last year and a half and the fact that it still made the numbers that it made on a weekend that's historically irrelevant for like theaters, it still is a pretty high achievement.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. I could see like them thinking about it from that perspective, but they really should.
But it wasn't even as low as their lowest ones. I think Ant-Man and Wasp is still the lowest one.
It might have been. I'm
and-
sure Incredible Hulk was.
Yeah, if you include those ones,
I
then
get a higher
percentage if I put it on streaming only. Ha ha!
I mean, and that is
But
also.
I hate the streaming thing because they say I get a higher percentage. They're taking like on average around 60% of the box office in North America, but the streaming, yeah, they get 80% of it, but there's still 20% that goes to all of the other like TV providers and stuff, because you still have to pay the apps to have Disney Plus on there. All Samsung
Yeah.
and Apple and all the TV makers still have to get a cut to be able to have that app supported on their TVs.
Dance with the one who brought you, Disney.
Yeah.
I don't. Again, it's just it's a theory that they're trying out, and I still don't know why. I still don't know how it benefits them.
It's a crackpot theory.
Yeah,
Well, It's just I feel like it's Wall Street analysts who know nothing about our industry looking at numbers and trying to, make sense of distribution models or change up things, looking for money that's not there because they just don't quite understand how media and creativity and all of that work. They just are looking at it on spreadsheets. And yeah, if you just look at it on spreadsheets, I'm sure streaming, pivoting to that, having a direct to consumer relationship makes a lot more sense.
They're also trying to predict, human pattern.
Yeah.
And even at this point in time, that's a crapshoot, Like, you don't know. Not really.
I just don't know why you would bet against an industry that's been around for over 100 years. Like, let's
Because
just go
streaming's
again.
cool, yo.
But it's the same content. It's not like radio
Right.
going away for podcasting because it's completely different. Like, you still get to select the time that you view the content by going to a theater.
Yeah.
And it's fresh content. It's not the radio or live television where you have to watch it live. It's just a whole different thing. It's close enough that we can really compete.
It'll pivot.
Yeah.
It'll pivot. We'll find the way to make the experience even better, but you just still need the content.
Yeah. But for right now, like, pat yourselves on the back. Shang-Chi was great. I'm sure a
oh my
lot of
gosh.
theaters were happy
It's
with.
so good, very
Yeah.
exciting. And I think that the hold up numbers are going to be really strong because in a lot of our locations, while it did huge nationally, you look at some of the location by location numbers and some of them are a little weak, but it's Labor Day weekend. And we're kind of in the Mountain West. There's a lot of recreating that happens.
Yep.
There's so many people that bought a new camper in the pandemic that needed to have one last weekend to use
You're
it.
not wrong.
Keep
You're not wrong.
coming with the campers.
I am. I'm coming for the camper theory. I'm
It's the camping
plant my
weekend.
flag in that. And we were out and we saw Lots of campers. So Ken knows that I'm right.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of something that I saw, did you see the article in New York Times this week about trying to figure out theater going for Hollywood? They couldn't figure. There's so many analytics, but they don't make sense against each other.
Basically what we just
Right.
mentioned
Yeah.
like a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this article is really interesting, and it goes into a lot of like the debate we have about windowing and day and dating, and a lot of the same arguments that we're making against it were made in this article. But what I found super interesting that I hadn't even thought about before was when you have transparency in the box office, when you have those box office numbers, and you know the whole industry and anybody industry adjacent knows Shang-Chi made all this money, and then Candyman is sitting here, and so you know the horror did this and the comic book movie did that. When you're planning and financing future titles and you're soliciting those, you kind of have an idea of a target of what was working. Like this last year, we knew that maybe rom-coms weren't working, or teenage, like raunchy comedies weren't working. And so you can kind of like gauge on preference. But when it's streaming and they don't put their numbers out, you have no idea what content is working or what's not, or what that even means anymore.
Yeah.
Like, at least you knew with the box office that Shang-Chi was successful because it got a certain amount of people out of their homes to pay those ticket prices. And they reported that. And that, I think, is easy to analyze the success of that. But when you have hidden streaming numbers and you get them, and they can be so manipulated, because they're not a direct transaction. It's not like if you view 2 seconds of a film, you've transactioned that subscription fee for that film.
Right.
So it's just really hard to analyze that. And I thought they brought that up, but where it really affects is future. How do you greenlight future projects knowing what's doing well and what's not? Now, Disney's probably okay because they get their streaming numbers, they still know, and they very much are a brand, and they very much stick to their lane. So they're probably not. But you get somebody like Sony or maybe even Universal, because their streaming numbers are low. How do you really know what is good? And as a creative out in the community, how do you know where to put your creative energies into?
Yeah, like who's going to take you more seriously?
Yeah, otherwise you're just turning out content. You're just a content factory, and your project means nothing. It's just a dot on the blip of all the content being put on the menu.
A dot on the blip on a menu?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean,
That's like
Yeah.
the smallest thing I've ever heard of.
A little dot on the little hub
I
of
know.
the menu
I know.
on my TV. It just so many layers of nothingness right there. But at least when I see it on a marquee, I'm like, there is a movie in that room.
Speaking
I'm going to go see it.
Speaking of layers, can I move on to the next subject?
Well, anyways, check out that article. It was a New York Times article, and it just was, I thought it was really interesting. But it's still, what happens in Hollywood, they're still writing articles about it. We're really changing up this industry, and nobody really knows how it's shaping up. But I like how there's some discourse on it.
Yeah,
People are talking.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely becoming more apparent, and there's definitely being more questions asked about it. And sooner or later, I think the studios have to have an answer. I mean, don't you think?
I think I think another year or two, they'll still figure it out. They're still going to experiment and see where things are going.
Yeah, the process will take forever, but at least there's more questionings about, I guess, the process.
Yeah.
Which could be a good sign. It could be more people in arms for theaters. Well, hopefully, but more people in arms for theaters being like, hey, like, how is this fair to them? How can you just disregard them and only focus on just throwing out so much stuff on like a streaming service that just gets fallen by the wayside and possibly doesn't even bring you success as you're hoping for?
What does this mean for different communities? Not just exhibition or the creative community, but what does it mean for actual communities out there? Like, if the theater dries up, what else do little rural towns have? What does this mean for community sense and fabric in America? Like, I really think the movie theaters are super essential to the American way of life. They are an epicenter of little towns, and they bond people together and shared experiences, and it's important to maintain that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we have a wide. There's a big gulf between all of these little town theaters. Some are run for profit, some are run as nonprofits, some have 1,000 seats, some have 100. I mean, they're all different, but they all have evolved based on the community that they're in.
Yeah, totally agree.
And we've seen overwhelming support in communities across the board for movie theaters. So this
we went through this once a
gets
decade
very
ago,
personal. Yeah,
upgrading everything from 35 millimeter to digital. I mean, we thought the industry was going to fall off a cliff just because of the cost of those projectors back then. But communities, cities,
and everybody paid off their projectors, and now we're heading into a new cliff. It's just, we will rally, but it's just,
no.
At least we got through that first one.
I feel like one of those.
It wasn't as high, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the old time film buyers when they were talking about VHS tapes. They're like, this is going to ruin the industry.
Oh yeah.
I know, it's so funny.
I mean, I feel like ours are actual worries. Like,
Yeah. Meanwhile, most people are like, "Oh yeah, VHS were a thing.
Yeah.
Laserdisc is
DVDs.
going to destroy us all.
What are these black boxes in these weird plastic covers?"
No.
Well, I think what's nice about us doing the podcast and talking and all that is that this sense of community we do give, because, you know, we just came off a CinemaCon, and that convention was really nice. It reminded people that we're in an industry together and that things are in upheaval and changing. But it's nice to have that sense of, you know, togetherness through this all. And this last week, I was made aware of a new not company.
Community trade organization?
Yeah, thank
Nonprofit?
you. Yeah, nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really excited to join. It's called Women in Exhibition. And they reached out to us about the podcast. And I was like, what is this? I need to, you know, do some research. And it's just this really awesome organization of women globally that have come together and tried to create our own little community within exhibition. It was started in 2019 and launched at the Geneva Convention. So, you know, it does really have a big place in exhibition and cinema. And, you know, kind of got waylaid by the pandemic, as everybody's life did. Yeah. But it's coming back strong, and it's really awesome. They have guest speakers. You join. It's super easy to join. I think the fee was only $25. So there's really no cost barrier to join this group. And they're going to have a guest speaker series coming up. And in the past, they've gotten some really amazing guest speakers. I think Patty Jenkins was one. Mark Cuban came to talk to the ladies about business.
Oh, cool.
Howie Mandel. They've had a lot of different prolific speakers come through to kind of just talk about different aspects of our industry. And they actually have one coming up next week. And the speaker is going to be Tom Rothman, the chairman and CEO of Sony. And he's going to talk for about an hour to the ladies. So if you...
Is he just going to be listing off release date changes?
Maybe.
You won't believe what we have in store
so if you
for today.
want to join, go to womeninexhibition.com, join up and sign up. This free. This will be a free webinar series online. They'll send you the link, and it'll be like a Zoom chat, and it'll be live. And the main gal, Heather Blair, will be interviewing Tom Rothman. And afterwards, there'll be a little Q&A and ability to, you know, say hi and chat and stuff afterwards. So I'm really, really excited for this. But when I saw who the next speaker was, part of me wanted to be like, when it came to be my turn, to be like, what should I ask this guy? I'd be like, who decides your release schedule changes? That was my, if I had more balls, I think I would ask him. I'll probably chicken out, not, but
right. It's a women in exhibition.
Yeah. Because I want to be like, who does that? And
how do I go about firing them?
Yeah. How do I go about lodging complaints about this person? Because they're obviously an idiot, but...
No, then you should list off all the release date changes and drive them crazy.
Hey, Tom, did you know you've changed this film 6 times in the last year?
To get the big stack of papers.
But it's nowhere near how many changes you had on Peter Rabbit. Because, you know, who wouldn't want a bunny movie at Easter? Let's just put it around all summer long.
Well, maybe someone else will bring that up as a question.
I won't do it. I'll be good. But that was my gut instinct to be like, find out who is this person.
We'll just keep beating that dead horse, just like the people over at Warner Brothers and Keanu Reeves.
Yes, speaking of beating a dead horse, there is going to be another Matrix movie.
Resurrection.
Matrix Resurrections. Plural? Resurrections? I think so.
God,
it doesn't matter.
Who can keep up?
Who can keep up? But they released a official trailer for it yesterday, and it was good. It was pretty good.
I thought it was better than good.
Yeah.
I saw it on the release schedule there in December because, I'm putting bookings in all the way through December. And I'm like, is anybody going to want this? Like, how long ago was the third one? Did anybody even watch the third one? Like, I had no connection with that series anymore. Yeah. And then I saw this trailer and I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good. And I'm like, and Keanu Reeves is awesome. And I don't know why I was doubting it at all. But their marketing was so awesome. I mean, it started out teasing you with that website that had the red pill or the blue pill. And then no matter which one you picked, you got a different narrator and they showed different clips.
Right.
Just really flashes and stuff. I was like, this is really fun. We clicked on it a few times. Like they got
It's true. We did.
multiple clicks out of us on this. I was like, what's the other pill look like?
Hey, if you can make... the thing about The Matrix, I suppose, is that the marketing could be fun.
So far it is.
And I think hopefully Warner Bros. Should at least embrace that and try to keep making it fun. Because otherwise, if you're just going to be like, oh, here's trailer 2, and don't forget the TV spot, it's like, okay. But if you can, I don't know, do more interactive type stuff, especially with how, I don't know, insane of an interaction like the movies are, whether they're good or bad, like... You could get a cool trip out of this and convince people to be like, all right, I'll get a trip out of this for the movie too.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Wake me up when Keanu leaves.
No. Although I was confused about, I was like, what even happened in Matrix? I had to Google it.
Oh,
I had to Google the
I still don't know.
And I was like, he died in the third one? And I'm like, how is he back?
Hence
The Matrix.
Resurrections.
Yeah.
Maybe he was never dead the whole time, maybe.
Maybe the whole thing was made up. Maybe he did just a bunch of PCP and
maybe it was
dreamed it all.
Maybe it was rogue robots that are like, we want to bring the whole system down, but it has to be the humans that do it.
Yeah.
Or it could be pulling a Halloween and being like, forget about the 8 other movies and just remember the first one. It'll connect that way better.
Oh my God. Can we get another Terminator movie where they just spell it out for me? No. I just need it very basic, guys.
No.
They've tried, honey, and it didn't work.
It was fine.
They tried. No. They've tried
multiple
times.
It was fine, but it was just...
They even tried with like lady Terminators, and that didn't work.
Yeah, it was fine. They were all great.
They're all great.
They were all bad.
I was surprised. I was surprised by the outpour of like people getting really excited for this movie. So I hope it doesn't let anyone down.
Yeah.
But it's also a good time too because Keanu Reeves has a major renaissance going on right now. So take advantage of it.
He looks like John Wick in Matrix. At least he could have shaved and cut his hair.
Oh, I'm sure he wasn't able to. I'm sure he was like, guys, I have John Wick 4. Like, I'll come back, but I can't bail on John Wick. It's my bread and butter now.
Uh-oh. No, the marketing is awesome. And I'm really excited because I think that they've got a good plan in place and they're going to start pushing it. But I have to say, as fun as the red pill, blue pill website was, and I forgot about the trailer. I was so wrapped up in the what's coming next? Which pill should I take? That I forgot the next day was the trailer.
So you're like, what was this movie? Oh,
yeah.
Red Pill.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I checked Silver Screen Insider and I'm like, oh yeah, there was a trailer.
I was just Googling the original 3, and this was one of the first ones to have the sequel 6 months after.
Oh,
really?
So
was it that soon?
1 and 2 were 4 years apart.
Yeah.
And then 3 came 6 months later.
Oh, that's what you meant.
Because they shot those in tandem. So it was the third of this the series. And that was, I remember that being interesting. Like, you have to see this now because the third one is going to be here before you know it.
Wow. I forgot about that. That's crazy. Very interesting.
You didn't forget about it.
What year was
we were
it?
like 8.
Well,
what year was it?
2003.
Oh my gosh. I wasn't even out of high school. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's probably why I didn't watch it. It's like that doesn't seem like a movie I would have liked in high school.
Did you see the first one in high school, or just none of them?
I saw the first one, but I think it was back in the day when you used to go to Hastings and rent a movie.
Yeah.
I loved going to Hastings. The movies to rent were along the whole back wall. So you just walk in and you just peruse that whole down the side to the back. I had my sections. I knew where to go. I miss that. The kids these days, they don't know what it's like to have to physically walk to pick something. It was a streaming menu of all the titles.
And if you didn't
Beautiful.
and listeners, if you didn't have a Hastings, just replace it with like Blockbuster.
We had a Blockbuster. I still chose Hastings.
Yeah, sure. I'm just saying, like,
Make this as confusing as possible, Cody.
Or Movie Lovers. I'm sure everybody had a Movie Lovers type video store.
the small business type. Yeah.
Speaking of a trailer for all movie lovers, we got a second trailer for Ron's Gone Wrong.
Oh, I thought this trailer was so much better than the teaser. It's why even put out a teaser? Because they didn't tease anything fun. I was just like, oh, it looks kind of cute. This one made it look so cute. I even laughed out loud at the trailer. This is how I know it's going to be good. And it's PG.
I know, but you laugh at my jokes, so you laugh at just about anything.
Not just about anything.
There's some credibility there. Yeah, looks like a really nice animated title, almost in the vein of, I think, Spies in Disguise. I think it felt like the sort of similar tone and nature to it. I think so. That's kind of what I got out of it. Just very playful with its story. Like, it's kind of, it makes sense for like our world, but at the same time, it's like a little robot that is supposed to be your friend, and it also is kind of like your smartphone. It can do anything.
I do like how it was more playful in nature than the last few that Disney's put out. I don't know, it just seemed more fun.
Yeah.
Just a cute Disney movie, and it's going to have the same story where they're not friends and then they're friends and they have to overcome something together, and it's the same
they
basic
change
thing.
the world. They change everybody.
But it's going to be great.
That's around them. I think Mitchell's versus Machines was kind of, I got more vibes like that, but just not the stylized, quick animations.
Well, this is a sweet spot on 10/22 because we don't have any kid stuff.
None.
At all.
Well, we have Addams Family.
I mean, after that, though. We don't have anything after that.
No. Addams Family will have 3 good weeks into Ron, and then that'll have a few good weeks into, I think the next one's Encanto.
Yeah, which is...
Right, late November for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, which is like 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
it's
it for a while.
So it could hold over well, maybe.
It maybe is. We don't know. We can't say it is or not.
Well, I just mean...
It's a trade secret.
It could.
It could be, yeah.
It needs to be.
It needs
hint,
to
hint.
be. Disney. Hint, hint. Please don't make us play this trailer and then put it on Disney Plus. Like you've done with all this. Will this be Disney's first animated since Raya? Because they sold Luca.
Well, this is technically...
Or they didn't sell Luca. They made it stream only.
This is technically from 20th Century Fox, so it's not in like the same camps necessarily. And to be honest, that might help it go to theater only. They might have already made a deal.
Because I know that some of those Fox titles have theater exclusive language built in their contracts. So
Exactly, yeah. So this could be one of those that fits that bill.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We really need it.
We need it, and it looks good.
Looks really
and it's
good.
got the Disney 20th Century moniker on it. Mm-hmm. So that'll put 20 more million on the thing than a normal, movie from Paramount we've seen.
Right.
Or Universal. They have a hard time getting traction.
Yeah, it's true.
Disney animated are easy to sell.
Yep.
Especially at PG.
Yeah, I would agree.
It was such a cute trailer. I'm actually really excited for that one. I think I'm more excited for that than I am Addams Family too. I don't know what it was. It just didn't do anything for me. The whole like road trip vibe, and it looked like he was blowing up the Grand Canyon. I'm just like, oh, okay.
I've seen that before.
Ugh, nothing new here.
Yeah.
I don't know. The first one was cute, and our boys laughed their faces off through the entire movie.
They loved it.
I have
That's
no
awesome.
idea what the redeeming qualities of it were, but they were like old timey, slapping their knees, hitting each other on the back.
That's amazing.
At 4 and 6.
Yeah.
I think it's,
Yeah. Sitting on the porch, rocking chairs, laughing.
Well, that's
was
what matters.
at that age, it's hard to get through a whole movie, but they got through it all. They really liked it.
Nice. So maybe this one will do the same.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Damn right.
Okay, well, on that note, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Off the Break podcast. You can find us on all podcast platforms and over at silverscreeninsider.com, where if you're a theater owner or manager needing updated and accurate film information for all of the releases and marketing assets for all of them, you can check us out there and to help with your social media postings and campaigns.
Yeah. And check out Women in Exhibition. It's a wonderful group of ladies. I'm super excited for our speaker coming up. And they have Facebook and Instagram pages. They have a lot of communities, and they're going to be putting on workshops and stuff. So it's very dynamic, and I think they're going to start ramping up more offerings coming up. So check them out.
Yeah,
At $25,
totally should.
it's really not expensive at all. Pay your dues. Get involved.
Get after it.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Big grosses.